the first thing a frame does for you is make almost everything irrelevant. And that's so great, because that's what you want. You want almost everything to be irrelevant, because otherwise you're going to be so flooded with information that that's what hallucinogens do, at least in their initial stages, is they take away that filter and make everything relevant. You can read about that in Huxley's Doors of Perception. He does a great job of describing the initial stages of a mescaline experience, and what happens is that all of the memory, in some sense, that regulates his perceptions is stripped off, and so he sees everything glowing and alive and magical, like he'd never encountered it before, which is exactly how you would see something if all your memory about it was gone. And so he sees things as way more complex and interesting than he normally sees them. Well, that's fine, but if you're like that all the time, then you end up in a ditch starving to death or something. It's not commensurate with normal life. That's what it looks like. And so your perceptions are just shrunk and restricted to the bare minimum necessary to keep you moving in the direction that you're moving. All right, so the first thing you want to do is you want to make things irrelevant. Now, if you're with someone in a relationship, partly what you want them to do is to help you continue making most of their possibility irrelevant. It's polite. Because one of the things, so you say, well, we have a friendship, let's say, we have a friendship, okay? So that means you've agreed to act in a friendly manner towards me and to support me. There's all sorts of other ways you could act, like a myriad of them. And I'm going to do the same for you. So we're simpler to each other than we would normally be. And then you go and do something that betrays me. It's like, bang, that whole simplification is gone. And all those parts of you that were supposed to be irrelevant, because we were playing the same game, they're dead relevant, and I don't know who the hell you are. And so that's really rough, and people do not like that. It's this emergent mismatch between their desires and the way the world is manifesting itself. So one of the issues of complexity is that when you hit an obstacle, everything that you have agreed with other people to make irrelevant is irrelevant. And that's generally a disconcerting experience. Now you can, you might want to toy a little bit with that in a relationship, so maybe you encourage your partner to dress differently, or you go do different things or something, because you don't want to be stuck in exactly the same old rut. And so what you'll agree is how you can both deviate an interesting amount. But that's voluntary and controlled. It's not the same at all as having that little mess of 80 million snakes pop up right in front of you, which is the last thing you want to have happen. And so it's so weird, because one of the things that we're striving to do constantly is to keep most of the world irrelevant. And our cultural systems are designed precisely for that purpose. And part of what you do when you disrupt them is you force people to consider a far more range of relevance than they are even vaguely comfortable or vaguely competent to manage. And it just burns them to a crisp. Because what your body does is, if all of a sudden everything around you is irrelevant, like I could say, you're stripped naked, I take you in a helicopter, drop you right into the middle of a jungle at midnight. It's like, you're not bored. Standing there, frozen, paralyzed, everything is interesting. Well, too bad for you, because too interesting is very little different from terrifying. And so, your heart rate's going to be at 160 for like 2 days, and then something will eat you and your problems will be over. So, all right, so this diagram basically suggests this is how you break up the world when you're going from point A to point B. It renders almost everything irrelevant. Hooray. And then what happens is the rest of the world is broken up into obstacles that get in your way and tools that facilitate your movement forward. And that's actually what you see when you come into a place. Like when you come into this room, these are obstacles insofar as you can't walk through them, and those are tools insofar as you can sit on them and watch the class. And this is a tool, and these are tools, and this is a tool, and I'm a tool for, although I'd never admit it, but anyways, I'm a tool because you need to take this class in order to advance towards your degree. And so basically what you see in the world are entities of functional significance, and those are not objects. They are not the same thing. So, and that's very much worth considering, because see, we're trying to build up a case, at least in part, for analyzing the nature of the structures within which you organize your perceptions. And we tend to think that those are predicated on object perception. It's not true. It's not true. They're predicated on relevance conception. Does it help you? Does it get in your way? Or is it irrelevant? That's what you want to know. If it helps you, you're happy about it. If it gets in your way, you're negatively predisposed towards it. If it's irrelevant, it's invisible. And so if your little scheme is functional, your little frame is functional, then most of the things that you encounter are mildly positive. And that's how you know that you know what you're doing. That's how you validate the entire frame. So, okay, good.